Now, here's a question I have for you. Brad used the word decision. Anybody know what the word decide means? The word decide means to kill off. You're killing something off. The word decision means to cut away. You are deciding to make a decision to go pro. At some point in everyone's life, we make a decision to leave our amateur desires behind, and we make a decision to go pro. And that's really why you're here, right or wrong? To get real. You're making a decision to go pro. I spent a decade of my life as a championship women's basketball coach, and as I was listening to Brad talk about this concept, is we trained every day. We had role play every day. We had simulation every day. And if you didn't get it right, you trained more. You stayed after practice. You worked harder. You didn't just go home. You kept going. You kept working. So moms and dads would drop their daughters off to me at 14 years old because I was a high school basketball coach. And moms and dads would drop their daughters off to me, and they all said the same thing. Coach, my daughter's got a lot of what? What do you think they said? Potential. Every now and then they said issues. Right about that. Issues. Now they say she got a lot of potential. Potential is an idea of kinetic energy that is stored, listen to the words I'm using, until activated. It is an idea of kinetic energy that we will be better today than we were yesterday. We will be better tomorrow than we are today. That we will never stop getting better. And those moms and dads say, man, my daughter's got a lot of potential. How many of you have kids? Raise your hand if you got kids. I've got a 9-year-old and a 10-month-old. And when you look at those children, you say they have a lot of potential, right? And so I would say thank you for bringing your daughter to the Greatness Factory. Because here at the Greatness Factory, we are going to manufacture her greatness in 4 parts of her nature. Body, that represents skill. And I'm going to show you this. If you're training people, here's what I want you to understand. The body represents skill. How many of you think you would make more money if you had better skills? Money does not buy you freedom. Skills buys you freedom. Doesn't matter if you're generating 3,000 leads every 90 days if you can't convert those leads. The word conversion means to take nothing and turn it into something. The word close means to bring 2 things together. To bring something to an end. So how many of you believe skills buys you freedom? Yeah. So I would say, hey, we're going to grow your daughter in the body. That's skill. In the mind, that's knowledge. In the heart, that's passion, or we're going to call that Pray Drive today, which is a book I'm writing right now. And in the spirit, that's confidence. If you are training people, you need to be training them in 4 parts of their nature. Knowledge, skill, desire, and confidence. And then I would say to the parents, but I got a question for you. You're telling me that your daughter has a lot of potential. Is that what you're telling me? They say, oh yeah, coach, she just needs something. What do you think they said she needed? Every now and then said a good whipping. That's what she needs, a good whipping. What she needs is what? Direction. What else? Come on, folks. Participate with me. Focus. Coaching. Discipline. Structure. Accountability. Mentorship. Then they would say all she needs is a good coach. All she needs is a good coach. And I'd say, if you're telling me your daughter has potential, let me ask you a question. And you may or may not like this question, but I got to ask you, man. Is your daughter watching you reach your potential? And then they're like, oh, coach. Like, I didn't know you were going to be coaching me, right? And I'm like, I will run your little ass around the parking lot just like I run theirs. Now, here's my point. When we think about something, let me try that one. When we think about something, when we think about growing people, can you see where you need to grow people in 4 parts of nature? Yes or no? Yes. So, 18, 19, 20, 21, I'm coaching. I was fortunate to become the youngest head coach in the state of Tennessee. So now I'm coaching at the 2nd largest high school in Tennessee. And I'm coaching these kids. And around 18 years old, I had a discovery. I was exposed to something. One of my coaches said, if you don't read another book this year, pick up a copy of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. 18 years old, I go down, I pick up a copy of The 7 Habits. I read The 7 Habits and I couldn't understand it. How many of you read The 7 Habits? It's incredibly complicated. I thought a paradigm was a paradigma. I'm like, what is he talking about, right? He's talking about personality ethic and character ethic and these 7 habits of very successful people. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to teach every kid these 7 habits. Every player that comes to play for me, Imagine your daughter, 14 years old. Every day I'm going to teach her the 7 habits of highly effective people. I'm going to teach her the principles of good to great. I'm going to teach her the 5 dysfunctions of teams. I'm going to teach her the 5 disciplines of a learning organization. And I would take these kids that had some knowledge, sound like your employees, some skill, some desire, and some confidence. They would spend 5.5 hours a day with me for 4 years, and we would turn them into little stone cold killing machines. How many of you think you could take your employees with some knowledge and some skill and some desire and some confidence and manufacture some greatness in those people? Yes or no? Jefferson, this is what you're doing every single day. Taking your people. Brad said training's not something you did, it's something you do. Sports teams don't train every now and then. Military doesn't train every now and then. World-class athletes don't train every now and then. So why do business people train every now and then? Right or wrong? So when you're thinking about this, so we're starting to teach everybody these whole things, and we start to win games. And when I say we start to win games, we start to win a lot of games. So people were constantly asking me, man, what are you doing with those kids? And I said, man, we're growing the body, the mind, the heart, the spirit. We're training every day. They spend 5.5 hours with me every day. I'm coaching all 4 parts of their nature. This is why we're winning, man, is we're training. And so at 25 years old, I sit down and I did one of the best things I ever did was wrote my first book. A little book I wrote called Changing Lives Through Coaching, because I believe a good coach can change your life. How many of you have ever had a good coach in your life? Okay? How many of you think who's coaching you matters? You pay for your kids to have coaches. My daughter's got a horse riding coach. She's got a gymnastics coach. She's got a basketball coach. And then we get to be an adult and say, man, we don't need coaches anymore. We got it all figured out. But what happens is that actually suppresses our prey drive. Is that we get comfortable, complacent, static, stuck, bored, in a rut because we don't have that tension. We don't have that coach. We don't have that fire. So at 25 years old, I wrote a book for coaches, but guess what? Coaches wouldn't buy it. They're like, man, who is this kid? He's only 25 years old. He hadn't won a championship yet. And somehow that book got in the hands of business people. And business people began to call me and they say, man, will you come down and speak to and motivate our people? The word motivate means to move. The word inspire means to breathe life into. And so I said, man, would you come over and speak to our people for a few minutes? And a manager at Dell Computers, which was one of the biggest companies in the world, he called me one day and said, will you come speak to our people? And I said, sure, but I got to fit it in tight, man. I'm coaching these kids. I'm trying to win championships. I'm totally focused on winning championships. And I love these kids. And I went over and I spoke for 1 hour. At the end, he said, man, we loved it. Will you come back and train our people and coach our people? I said, I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to win games. I love these kids. I haven't won a championship yet. I'm working 80 hours a week every week. I'm trying to build something special here, man. Thank you for buying my book. Thank you for bringing me down to speak, but I'm not interested in staying and speaking to your people. I got to get back to these kids. And we kind of got in an argument. He's like, are you kidding me? He's like, man, we're Dell Computers. We're one of the biggest companies in the world. You don't want to come back and train our people? And he finally said, okay, fair enough. And he reached in his pocket and he pulled out a check. And he said, here's your check for coaching our people for an hour. And I said, you going to pay me to coach your people? He said, yeah, man. We're one of the biggest companies in the world. And I opened up that check, and it was more in an hour than I made in a month. And I thought about it for a second, and I said, surely somebody else will come along and love those kids as much as I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love them kids, but somebody will come along and love them kids as much as I do. True story is I actually stayed 6 more years until I built a national powerhouse, and that's why you see this big gaudy ring on my right hand. Is it took me a decade to build a national powerhouse at a place that would go on to win 7 of 9 championships. And thank you very much. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned in there. 10 years, long obedience in the same direction, 10,000 hours of practice, right? And along the way, I'm writing book 1 and book 2 and book 3 and book 4. And what I'm really studying is what I want to talk to you about today, which is how to activate a drive inside of a person. How many of you have talented people on your team and you see that potential of them, but you cannot figure out how to flip that switch? How many of you have that? Some of you may say, that's me. You're talking to me, Coach Burt. Is that you have talent. You have potential. You've been told your whole life you could do something big. But for some reason, you can't flip the switch.